The last thing Derek said to me before I walked out of his restaurant was this: "We don't serve people like you here." He said it quietly, almost professionally, like it was a policy, like it was simply the way things were, and always had been, and always would be. I was standing at his host stand on a Friday evening in downtown Atlanta. I had been waiting 40 minutes. I had watched 11 people seated ahead of me. 11. I had asked twice, politely each time, when my table would be ready. And that was his answer. "We don't serve people like you here." I want you to hold that sentence in your mind for the next few minutes, because everything that happened after it, every decision I made, every late night, every sacrifice, grew directly from those 8 words. I walked out, I sat in my car, I gripped the steering wheel until my hands hurt, and then I made a decision that changed everything. Not a decision about revenge, a decision about what I was going to build. I need to be precise about that night, because precision matters when injustice tries to disguise itself as policy. Derek did not shout. He did not cause a scene. From the outside, to anyone watching, he was simply a manager, managing a busy restaurant on a Friday night. What he actually did was look at a black man standing at his host stand, dressed well, patient, polite, and make a calculation. A calculation that had nothing to do with available tables, nothing to do with reservations, and everything to do with what he saw when he looked at me. He saw someone who did not belong in his restaurant, and he acted on that calculation with the complete confidence of a man who had never once been wrong about it before. I sat in my car for a long time that night. I did not cry. I did not call anyone. I did not post about it. I opened the notes app on my phone, and I wrote one sentence: "They will never have the power to do this to me again. Not to anyone else, not to the world. To me." I was specific about that, because I had learned something sitting in that car, that the most dangerous response to injustice is a vague one. Vague anger dissipates, specific intention compounds. I drove home. I ate cereal standing over my kitchen sink, and then I called the one person whose opinion I trusted more than anyone else on earth, my Aunt Lila. It was past 11 when she picked up. She never minded late calls from me. "They turned me away from a restaurant tonight," I told her. "Told me they don't serve people like me." Silence on the other end. Then, and this is why I called her, she did not say, "I'm sorry." She did not say, "That's terrible." She did not say, "You should report them." She said, "What are you going to do about it?" I smiled for the first time that night. "I think I'm going to need your recipes," I said. Another silence. Then she laughed, low and certain, the way she laughs when she already knows how something ends. "Boy," she said, "you don't even cook." "I don't need to cook," I said. "I just need you." She thought about it for exactly 4 seconds. "Come over Sunday," she said, "and bring a notebook." Sunday came, and I drove to Aunt Lila's house on the east side of Atlanta. The house she had lived in for 37 years. The house that always smelled like something on the stove, even when nothing was cooking. She had a notebook waiting for me on the kitchen table. Her handwriting already filled the first 3 pages. I sat down. I looked at those pages, and something shifted in me that I was not expecting, because the recipes on those pages were not just recipes, they were memory. Every dish had a story underneath it. The braised short rib she made every Christmas Eve. The cornbread that required a cast iron skillet she had owned since before I was born. The peach cobbler that my grandfather used to request every Sunday without fail until the Sunday he no longer could. This was not just food. This was 40 years of love, passed down through kitchens and Sunday mornings and family tables where everyone was welcome and no one was ever turned away. I want to be honest about what that moment cost me, because I have told this story many times since to journalists, to business students, to people who ask how it all started. And I always arrive at this moment and feel it the same way I felt it the first time, sitting at Aunt Lila's kitchen table, looking at her handwriting. I understood, for the first time, the full weight of what Derek had done. He had not just turned me away from a table. He had looked at everything this family had built, generations of warmth, of dignity, of feeding people with love, and decided it was not welcome. In his restaurant, that was the injustice beneath the injustice. And that was the moment I stopped thinking about what had been done to me and started thinking about what I was going to build.
They told me no seed for you, no play for your name. Laughed in my face, filled the room with their shame. I walked out in silence, but my heart was on fire, fueling my steps, lifting me higher. Every scar they gave me I wear with pride. They tried to break me, but I survived. You shut the door, I built the keys, took back the power you stole from me. From empty hands to owning the space, you refused me service, so I bought the place. You refused me service.
I spent the next 3 months studying, not dreaming, studying. Every night after work, I sat at my kitchen table with a legal pad and went through the numbers. Food truck licensing in Atlanta, commercial kitchen rental, equipment costs, insurance, permits, health inspections. I watched every video that existed about running a food business. I read blogs from chefs who had failed and chefs who had succeeded, and paid equal attention to both. I visited 12 different food trucks across the city and got varmwaferistics and ordered from every single one of them. Not just to eat, to study. How fast did they move? How did they handle a line? What did people say while they waited? I was not preparing to open a food truck. I was preparing to open Lila's kitchen. There's a difference. A food truck is a vehicle and a menu. Lila's kitchen was going to be something else entirely. A place where the food was extraordinary. And every single person who came to the window felt exactly the opposite of how I felt, standing at Derek's host stand. I told Aunt Lila the plan on a Tuesday evening in March. She listened to the whole thing without interrupting, which for Aunt Lila is the highest form of respect she can offer anyone. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. Then she said, "Where are you parking it?" I smiled. 2 blocks from Whitmore's. She looked at me for a long time. Then she stood up, walked to the stove and started pulling out pots. "Then we better make sure the food is perfect," she said. Lila's Kitchen on Wheels opened on a Thursday morning in April. $40 worth of change in the register, 6 menu items, and a line that went around the corner before we had served a single plate. I wish I could tell you it was an overnight success. It was not. The first month was brutal. Equipment failed. I underestimated how much food we needed on weekends. I overestimated it on Tuesdays. I ran out of cobbler on the first Saturday, and we completely sold out by 11 in the morning and had to turn people away. With nothing in their hands. The irony of turning people away from Lila's kitchen, even temporarily, even because we had sold everything, was not lost on me. I went home that Saturday night and made a rule. We never run out, whatever it costs, whatever it takes. Lila's kitchen never turns anyone away empty-handed. We never did again. By month 3, something was happening that I had hoped for but not allowed myself to count on. The line at Lila's kitchen on wheels on Friday and Saturday evenings was longer than the line at Whitmore's Southern Kitchen two blocks away. People began talking. Food bloggers wrote about us. A local news segment mentioned us. And Whitmore's tables sat emptier, not dramatically, not overnight, but consistently, week by week. The numbers told a quiet story that Derek had not yet learned to read. I was reading it very carefully. 14 months after opening the food truck, I opened a permanent location. Lila's Kitchen, 3 doors down from Whitmore's Southern Kitchen, funded entirely by the profits from the truck. No investors, no loans, built from scratch. The opening night had a line out the door. Whitmore's had 4 tables occupied. 6 months after that, I received a call from a commercial real estate broker. Whitmore's Southern Kitchen was in financial distress. The lease was available. I want to be honest about what I felt when I got that call. I did not feel triumphant. I did not feel vindicated. What I felt was something quieter and more complicated than either of those things. I felt responsible because I had learned something in 14 months of running Lila's Kitchen. A business is not just a building and a menu, it is the people inside it. The servers who show up at 6 in the morning. The dishwashers who stay until midnight. The regular customers who have made your table part of their weekly life. None of those people at Whitmore's had turned me away that night. One man had. And one man's decision was now threatening their livelihoods. I bought the lease, I absorbed the space into Lila's Kitchen, and I made one announcement. All former Whitmore's staff were invited to apply for positions at Lila's Kitchen, not as a gesture of mercy, as a statement of principle. Lila's Kitchen had been built on the belief that everyone deserves a fair chance, that principle did not have an asterisk. Most of the staff came back. They learned quickly that Lila's Kitchen operated differently. Every customer greeted by name after their second visit. Every complaint taken seriously. Every team member treated with the same dignity. We extended to our guests. Derek applied too. I interviewed him myself. I want to tell you that I delivered some perfectly constructed speech in that moment. Something devastating and poetic, and that put him in his place, while demonstrating my moral superiority. I did not. I looked at the man across the desk from me, and I saw something I had not expected to see. I saw someone who had spent his entire career operating from a set of assumptions he had never once been asked to examine, not excusing them, not minimizing them, simply seeing them clearly for what they were. I offered him a position as a floor supervisor, not management, supervised, with a clear performance framework and a 6-month review. He accepted. He lasted 4 months before resigning. He left a handwritten note on my desk. It said simply, "I understand now what I did not understand before. I am sorry." I kept the note, not as a trophy, as a reminder that people can change. and that sometimes the most powerful thing dignity can do is create the conditions for that change to happen. Lila's kitchen now has 3 locations across Atlanta. We employ 61 people. Our executive chef is Aunt Lila's former apprentice, a 24-year-old from the same East Side neighborhood where Lila has lived for 37 years. We've never once turned anyone away from our door, not for how they look, not for what they are wearing, not for any reason that has nothing to do with the food on the plate and the warmth of the room they are walking into. That is the standard. It has always been the standard. It will always be the standard. The Griot names things, not with anger, with clarity. Derek told me that night that people like me were not welcome in his restaurant. He was half right about one thing. I was not like him. I never was. Because people like me build tables. We do not decide who sits at them. That is the difference between power that diminishes and power that multiplies. I have never once regretted walking out of his restaurant that night. It was the best thing he ever did for me. The griot's job is to remember, to make sure these stories are never forgotten. If this story moved you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today. And if you believe that justice always finds a way, subscribe. Because there are more stories like this one, and every one of them deserves to be told.
Your smirk was poison, but I turned it to gold. Every cruel whisper became courage untold. I learned that respect is a crown you create. Justice feels sweeter when served on your plate. Every wall you built I broke into. Every no you said let me battle you. You shut the door, I built the keys, took back the power you stole from me. From empty hands to owning the space, you refused me service, so I bought the place. You refused me service, now I own the place. Now you're still in the shadow of my life. Tables have turned and it feels so right. The taste of justice, the sound of change. No change can hold me. I broke the cage. You shut the door, I built the keys, took back the power you stole from me. From broken dreams to endless grace, refused me service, so I bought the place. Refused me service, I bought the place. You said I didn't belong, but now this is my home.